An overwhelming bounce-back win for LSU as they take the series against Omaha. Here's what you need to know. It's Locked on LSU. Let's go.
You are Locked on LSU, your daily podcast on the LSU Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Okay, let's get it. It is Locked on LSU, your team every day. I'm your host, Matt Moscona. Thanks so much for making us your first listen. We are free, available wherever you get podcasts, of course, on YouTube as well. So please subscribe. As always, one of the fastest ways to help us grow is by leaving your comments below. So thank you for that. The LSU baseball team bounces back to take the rubber match against Omaha 12-1 in overwhelming the Mavericks. Will tell you what you need to know. And the basketball team did drop the game at the Maravich Center against Florida in one of the more two of the more incredible sequences of runs that you might see in a game this season. But we'll get to that here in just a little bit. So after losing the first game of the doubleheader on Saturday 5-4, where LSU's furious ninth inning rally came up just short, you had a runner on third with one out. That was the potential tying run on third base with just one out. You couldn't get him home after Ashton Larson struck out and Stephen Milam flew out. The Tigers had no such problems at all in game three. We could start either offensively or defensively in this ball game because both were really impressive. The Tigers got a run home in the second, another in the third, a 3-spot in the fourth, another 3-spot in the sixth, a 4-spot in the seventh. They were overwhelming from start to finish offensively, and they were efficient. Remember, I just told you that in game two, when LSU lost 5-4, they had the potential tying run on third base with less than 2 outs and couldn't get him home. Well, in game three, there were 4 times in that game, 4 times that LSU had a runner on third with less than 2 outs. All 4 times that runner scored. LSU scored 12 runs in this ball game without the benefit of a home run. The Tigers just kept the merry-go-round going. So listen, I understand Omaha was a team that was overwhelmed. This was an Omaha team that gave up double-digit runs in all 3 games to Tulane last weekend. This is more like the effort we should have seen from LSU in all 3 games. And ultimately, they put it together in time to get the series win. LSU banged out 13 hits in the ball game. Tiger hitters drew 6 walks. They only struck out 5 times. So it was nice to see you get that walk number down in game 3 as well. And when you're constantly putting pressure on a pitching staff and a defense where LSU can hit up and down the lineup, you're going to have results like you did. Chase Shores really was the story of this ball game. But since we're talking offense, let me just stick with that point here if I could. I think one of the really encouraging things in this ball game was Stephen Milam. So Stephen Milam went 3 for 3 with a double and a walk. And, I know through the first 5 games of the season or 6 games of the season, I kind of been asked, hey, what's wrong with Stephen Milam? What's wrong with Stephen Milam? Nothing's wrong with Stephen Milam. This guy was a freshman All-America who hit 300 last year. We know Milam can play at this level and can hit at this level. But every single player over the course of a 56-game college season or 162 in the pros or whatever it is, you're going to have a 5-game stretch, 6-game stretch, 10-game stretch where you fight it a little bit. Sort of infamously, Alex Bregman started his major league career, wasn't it 0 for his first 23 or something like that? I mean, like everybody's going to go through one of those at some point in a season. Milam, it just was rough going in the beginning. And he was having good at bats and putting the ball in play, and sometimes he just wasn't having good baseball fortune. So to have a 3 for 3 day with a double, a walk, he's got his batting average now up to 292. I'm just not worried about Stephen Milam. It's one of the things about this team that we can look at and say, okay, like even offensively when they struggled in game 2, what do we know? Well, we know Michael Braswell is a 300 hitter in SEC play. We know Jared Jones hit 300 back-to-back seasons and 28 homers. We know Stephen Milam can hit at this level. Jake Brown was awesome in the final 2 months of the season a year ago. We know Ashton Larson hit 300 as a freshman a year ago. You know what I mean? Like, there are things we know. They're a given about this baseball team that you don't have to worry about those guys. I think for Jay Johnson right now and his staff, it's about finding out what roles other guys fit in. Ethan Fry has never really been productive at the plate during his LSU career, but we learned he was battling the shoulder injury a year ago that he just played through without having surgery. We're seeing, Daniel Dickinson, who is so good at Utah Valley. Can he do it consistently over 30 SEC games? I think so, but it's something we're going to have to see and wait and find out. Derek Curiel has been mightily impressive so far, hitting in the 2 holes so far early in his LSU career. But that's a guy that certainly doesn't look overwhelmed by the moment and just keeps getting on base over and over again. Curiel was 2 for 3 with a walk in Game 3. He's hitting .440 right now, which leads LSU, and he's got an on-base percentage of .548, which also leads LSU among the everyday players. So, I mean, I think offensively, this has been really encouraging. The other thing from Game 3, Luis Hernandez got the scoring going with a double in the second inning and a run scored. He has 4 hits on the season. 3 of them are doubles. It was his double in Game 2 as well that kind of broke LSU through in that 9th inning. I don't know that we should be I'm not going to overreact at this point, but one thing that seems pretty clear is that through 7 games, again, and it's 7 games in the non-conference, Luis Hernandez, I think, just as a veteran player, is showing probably why he's sort of at the pole position at the catcher spot right now. Just a little more mature at bats. As we mentioned, he's got the 3 doubles already on the young season. He did, by the way, have a beautiful caught stealing with a runner at second base in Game 3. So while I don't think any of the guys we've seen so far have been necessarily overwhelming or impressive defensively, if Hernandez continues to produce offensively and is good enough defensively, he's probably the guy that's at the pole position and maintains that spot behind the dish. One other thing offensively, then I'll get to the pitching staff. The top of the lineup was great. We saw Tanner Reeves get the start. He was 0 for 2, but he did walk twice, and he led off. Curiel, as we mentioned, was 2 for 3 with a walk, and then Jared Jones, batting in the 3 hole, was 3 for 5. So the top of your lineup, right, your table setters, were 5 for 10 with 3 walks. So they were on base 8 times in this ball game. So it's the production you didn't have earlier in the weekend. Of course, in Game 2, you left the bases loaded twice, each of the first 2 innings. In Game 1, you had some key strikeouts with the bases loaded. This was really nice to see the guys at the top of the lineup get on base and come around. Reeves scored twice. Curiel scored 3 times. Jared Jones scored once. That's 6 runs scored from the top 3 in your lineup, which is exactly what you want to see from those table setters. I do want to talk about the day that Chase Shores and the pitching staff had, because I'm probably burying the lead by not starting there, because Chase Shores continues to be probably the story, I think anyway, so far through 2 weekends. I'll get to that as we continue. Locked on LSU, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay. I love the live betting feature. I've told you about it before. Truthfully, it's a great way to get value early in a game, or if you notice a run throughout the game. If you're backing your team for a late-game rally, if you want to pick a player to hit a clutch 3, you never feel like you miss your chance to get in the action. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Today's show is also brought to you by Prize Picks. March basketball is here, and there's no better way to get in on the action than with Prize Picks, the best place for daily fantasy sports. With Prize Picks, you pick more or less on at least 2 player projections. And if you're right, you can win up to 1,000 times your cash. It's fast, easy, and keeps every game exciting. This week, maybe look to build your NBA lineup. How about Jason Tatum for more than 29 points? Or old street clothes, Anthony Davis, if you get on the floor for more than 12 rebounds. It's quick and easy. Love how you can make your picks in literally less than 60 seconds and stay engaged all game long. And when you win, your money hits the account in as little as 15 minutes. So there's no waiting around. Download the app today. Use the code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege for $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game. Chase Shores still coming back from Tommy John, having not pitched competitively in 2 years before he was on the bump opening weekend, was absolutely awesome in game 3. Shores scattered just 3 hits over 5 innings pitched. He struck out 6, walked 2. We saw him pump the 98-mile-an-hour fastball and the sharp slider as well. He has been so impressive. And we also saw the pitch count elevate a little bit as well. So after throwing 67 pitches a week ago, they bumped that number up to 84 this week. When I look at Chase Shores, to me, of the 3 starters we've seen so far, Cade Anderson, Anthony Ianson, and Shores to me looks like certainly the best arm that you have. And I think we are going to get to a point, I'll make this prediction now, where Chase Shores ends up becoming LSU's front of the rotation guy. I think he will ultimately pitch on Fridays. Maybe Jay Johnson wants to leave Cade Anderson, a lefty, on Friday, and Cade Anderson has been good. I mean, Cade Anderson cruised through 5 innings on Friday before running into a little trouble in the 6th. Anthony Ianson has been effective, but not efficient. He's had to labor a little bit more through some command issues and working around trouble. And I have said here, and will continue to say, that if any of these 3 guys falter, I believe Connor Ware is next up in line to be a guy to step into the weekend rotation. I think we'll certainly see Connor Ware start either Monday against Nichols or Wednesday against Dallas Baptist. My hope is, because a lot of you have asked, my hope is we see Gavin Guidry start Monday against Nichols, and then Connor Ware starts in that game against Dallas Baptist at Globe Life on Wednesday. Just a bigger stage against a better opponent. And they need to find out if we've seen Gavin Guidry pitch on the biggest stage. We get the final out of the College World Series. We need to see how Connor Ware does when you step up the level of competition in a ballpark, in a professional ballpark, a big setting like that, away from the box, because they need to find out what they have there, because he might very well be the next guy in line to join the rotation. But all that said, Chase Shores continues to be the guy that looks like, I mean, he's 6'8" and he throws 98. I mean, and velo isn't everything. The command is there. The command of multiple pitches is there. And I think he has the possibility to overwhelm teams. And the fact that we did see him increase from 67 to 84 pitches and extend, like all 3 pitchers did this weekend, and he maintained that velocity, is something that's encouraging. So you can probably continue to see that build here in the pre-conference, and then we'll see as they get into conference play how that looks. Remember, a year ago, Thatcher Hurd was your Friday night guy to start the season. By the end of the season, he wasn't anywhere near the starting rotation. So you went Holman and Jump, and then by the end of the season, Jump was actually your best arm. So a lot of this stuff is an evolution as the season goes along, and I think Shores has the chance to probably move up in the rotation. But I understand starting where you did. You sort of allowed him to go into the shallow end first, to pitch third, to not have to go first, and be able to bring him along slowly after not pitching for a couple of years. But he was awesome. The bullpen was great as well. And really the bullpen through 6 games has been awesome, except for the 3-run homer that Connor Benj gave up in game 2 of the series, game 1 of the doubleheader. that really is the only wobble. I mean, he inherited a runners on base situation, and honestly, I guess we should probably say Fontenot is the one who put two guys on with the hit batsman in game 2 of the series. But with the exception of that one inning, the 5 spot, it was a big crooked number, but the exception of that one inning, your bullpen has been awesome. In game 3, your bullpen, 4 innings, no hits. Zach Cohen came out of the bullpen and was awesome in this ball game. He threw 2 innings, struck out 3, faced the minimum, was never threatened. That's a guy who really lived off his changeup at Wofford, was their Friday night guy a year ago. And if that's a middle of the game guy out of your bullpen, what a luxury that is. A guy can start and extend if you need him to. If you have to go to a guy in the bullpen who can give you some length, you have that. And he's got strikeout stuff as well. Jacob Myers came in and pitched the 8th, the Nichols transfer. He faced 7 hitters in that 8th inning. He walked 2, he struck out 2, and he hit 2. That's a little bit of the concern with Myers. He was the command, right? While he, in 70 innings pitched at Nichols last year, struck out over 100 hitters, he also led the country in walks. Had a chance to talk to Myers last week on my radio show, and he talked about in his first outing last week, he didn't walk anybody, faced the minimum, struck out 2, and talked about going over all the TrackMan technology and everything that sort of helped him on his aim and location and things like that. This was one where it was a little more concerning because you saw some of the issues from a year ago, but still a clean inning. Only it didn't allow a hit, didn't allow a run, but he walked 2 and he hit a couple of guys. So it's something worth watching there. And then DJ Primo and Jaden Newt combined to pitch the 9th. Newt ended up with a strikeout and a little weak flare out to end the ball game. So Tigers get through it and win 12-1 in overwhelming fashion. They moved to 6-1 on the season, and we know they'll play Monday against Nichols, and then they'll come back. Then on Tuesday, they'll drive up to Arlington. They'll take on Dallas Baptist at Globe Life on Wednesday, and then they'll head to Frisco next weekend for the big 3-game series there at the Frisco Classic, where they'll play Kansas State, Nebraska, and Sam Houston State. So they'll ratchet up the competition a little bit here over the next week. And we'll be here for it on Locked On LSU. Hey, before we get out of here, if you missed the LSU basketball game on Saturday, I know we haven't talked a ton of basketball here because the Tigers are 3-11 in conference play, and it was pretty amazing to see LSU go through the stretch that they did, where LSU at the end of the first half had a 22-2 run. And quite honestly, it's not very often that you will ever see a team go on a 22-2 run and lose a basketball game, but that's why Florida is the number 2 team in the country. This was a 6-point ball game with right around 6 minutes to play. And Florida went on an incredible run to finish the game and ended up winning by 14 points. It was a 6-point game with it was a 14-0 run from the 4:58 mark of the ball game to the 2:22 mark. I mean, you were in a 2-possession ball game, and then boom, 14-0. You know that Ron Burgundy meme that escalated quickly? That's what it felt like. I mean, they for 2 minutes and 36 seconds, they were oppressive. They dominated LSU in the glass. LSU went with a 4-guard lineup, and Cam Carter just had a rough game. He missed all 6 of his 3-pointers. He was 3 of 13 from the floor. And for a team that relies so much on Cam Carter offensively, you just can't have a day where he doesn't perform. I'm not putting this at Cam Carter's feet. He's been awesome all season, but it was one of those days where Cam was off, and it showed for LSU offensively. So Tigers lose, as we mentioned. I don't think they win again the rest of this season, the LSU basketball team. I don't mean to be a Debbie Downer with that. I'm just being realistic when you look at how the schedule played out and what you have. Next up, you're playing Tennessee on Tuesday. Then you're at Mississippi State, at Kentucky, and then home against Texas A&M. You have 4 games remaining, all against ranked teams, 2 of them on the road. It's just hard to imagine LSU scratching out another win the rest of the way. So a long off season ahead for the LSU basketball team and program, where they're going to have to do a lot of sort of introspective searching about what they want to be as a basketball program, because right now they're not very good. Okay, that'll do it for us here on today's episode of Locked on LSU. Do us a favor. If you're listening on podcast, please subscribe on your favorite podcast app. Rate us, leave a review. If you're on YouTube, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so you're notified whenever we post a new video. And let a friend know that if they love the Tigers, we got you here every single day for Locked on LSU, your team every day.